Chalo, first, before we go ahead and start to discuss on anything, first, if you have any doubts, please do let me know about that. Then we'll go ahead and do something. If you have doubt, good morning to you too, Ajinkya. Nice. Subah subah khana. Nice. Good. You seem to be a foodie. Nice. I like it. Chalo. Was this a typo or you didn't? You did actually meant good morning. Just want to know, like, don't know, like maybe. RGBA. करते हैं RGBA. ठीक है. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Anything else? Anything else, guys? That's it? No, you don't need any extensions to be downloaded. You don't need that. So, start kare? Shall we start? I'll explain, don't worry. I will talk about everything. Okay, let's start. First out was what? Okay, container class and linking HTML and CSS. Okay. Today we will be doing like all that NavBar wala kaam and all that. So don't worry about that. Okay? The NavBar and all that is still to be completed off. Good morning, Ujjwal. Chalo, start kare? Start karte hai na? So very first thing that we have to see is how to link your HTML and CSS. Okay? Linking is very simple. Most of the time, 90% of the time, you'll find people using external CSS. Remember the three types of linking process? Remember that? Either what you can do is you can use inline CSS. Ya to go ahead and start to work on inline CSS. In inline CSS, you can write style as an attribute. And this is most preceded way of including CSS. The most of the precedence will be given to this. If you write any inline CSS, that CSS won't be, won't be overridden. Usko override nahi kar sakte. Okay? Either you can do this, or what you can do this, that rather than using it this way, you can create a style as an attribute, your element, rather than creating it as an attribute. So you can create a style tag in your head and write all the CSS down here. Okay, so second way is your internal CSS. This is called as an internal CSS. Okay, so you can go ahead and write any selector, pseudo select, every selector that we have seen, even in the external CSS, that will also get applied here. The third way is to actually create a different file for CSS and mark that whatever name that you want to give, but keep in mind the extension is going to be .css. Okay, so let's say I'm just creating styles.css. So down here in the head, I'll have to link it using a link tag. So if you'll see that I have a tag called as a link tag, wherein I have an attribute called as relationship attribute, which just tells that what this file is going to do for us. For example, relationship, this is a style sheet. You can name it whatever, even if you don't include it, it's still gonna work, right? And then you have a hyperreference depicting where is that style. So it's in the same folder. So I'm not giving any dot / or something. Even if you keep it dot / it's still gonna work. Okay, so this is how we link a CSS. I hope this makes sense. This makes sense, right? So I have a complete different file, styles.css, which contains all my styling and all my style sheets. And that style sheet is now linked to my HTML document by using a link, right? Make sense? Guys, say who asked me this? Aditi, is it fine now? Does this make sense? Kya kiya? So this is how we link it. Then we are writing CSS. Now in CSS, yesterday we had to look on few things, right? Kal hum logon ne, we had to look on containers and colors and color picker, gradients and all these things we had to look on in yesterday's session. Okay, na? So if you're talking about how to create containers, the containers, as I told you, it's a empty space, right? That empty space, you can use it however that you want to use it, right? You can decide its height, you can decide its width, you can decide whatever you want to, okay? And you can align it however that you want. Alignment part we'll do it today, but yeah, you can do it this way also, right? So in containers, as you'll see, let me actually render this off first. Let me actually close that. So, not even here though. Copy this, close this. Close the. I have so many things open. Just a second. Stop the port. Make it go live. So, okay. So let's take an example, a very simple example. Let's take in. Okay. So down here, let's again create, or before this, let's create a div. Okay. And let's give it an ID of, let's say, container, let's say 3, just like this, or you can name it, or you can give it an ID, whatever you want to give it. Okay. So if I save this, right, and go down here and try to inspect this page, if I try to inspect this page, I want the inspection to be done below. And if I try to inspect something from here, so if you will see that I have a container 3, right? If I scroll this down a little bit, you'll see I have a container 3. Everyone can see container 3. There is a container 3. There is a div which is getting rendered. There is a div for sure. But the height, it doesn't has any height. It doesn't has any width. It doesn't have anything. It's just an empty container, but we haven't initialized it as of now, right? It's still there. It's getting rendered, but it doesn't have any height or it doesn't have any width. So what we generally do, that when we try to style this up, so we grab that particular element using a selector. So let's say container 3, and then we go ahead and give it a style. Let's say height. So if I give it a height of, let's say, 300 pixels. Oh wait, where am I writing this? Let's say 300 pixels. And if I save this, now you'll be able to see now this div, which is div 3 or container 3, now it has a height. Everyone can see that. Everyone is able to see that now. So this is how you configure an empty container. That container initially didn't had any height, but when we grab it, we can give it a height. You can also mention its width, the horizontal width of it. So again, if I go ahead and say width, and I told you, you have to keep it relative most of the time, but even if you don't keep it relative, up to you. But let's say I'm keeping it relative to 80% and save that. Now you'll see it always going to take 80% of your width, as you'll see down here as well. Does this make sense now? Abhi samajh aaya that how are we doing this? Configuration for an empty container. This is how we do it. Okay. And as you'll inspect, the yellow color stuff that you're seeing, that's the rest of the 20% of the view width. Okay. Anything else that you want to ask? If you're good till here, just give me a yes and we'll move ahead. I'm explaining RGBA. Okay. So let's do this way. How should I explain you RGBA? Okay. Let's keep it this way. That we have rem is basically when you want to mention something has to be 2 times or 3 times. Let's say I want to have the, okay, let's keep it this way. We'll do that today, Twinkle. We'll talk about box models in a little while. Once this doubts is completed, we'll start to talk about box models. Chalo, let's do one thing. Let's take 2 more containers, okay? So that you'll see the difference then and there itself. Let's copy this and let's paste it down. And let's call it container 4, okay? And let's do one thing that for container 4 also, let's do the same thing. Let's take this container 4 and let's also keep the same height and width for container 4 also. So now we have what happened? Wait a second. I'll have to solve it once more, I think. So now we have 2 containers, okay? Container 3 and container 4. As you'll see down here, this is your container 3 and this is your container 4. Okay. Now let's do it this way, that I'm going to set the color property of both of them. Okay, the background color property. So for background color, I can give it a RGBA value. So let's keep the RGBA value for every other to be just the same. So let's go to color picker. Let's say color picker and let's grab a color real quick. Okay. So let's say I'm just going to take red, for instance. Okay. Now let's say I'm taking this amount of red and let's grab the RGB value. Okay. So isko thoda dhyan se dekhna that let's say if I'm keeping this RGBA value to be whatever RGB value that I have, I'm just going to keep it. But right now, the absolute value that I'm going to keep it 1. Let's say if I save this, you'll see that this is how it looks like. Okay, the color is something like this. But if I keep the same RGB value, but a different absolute value, and absolute values, as I said, it ranges from 0 to 1. So let's say if I keep it 0.3, so that you see the difference, and save that, you'll see a slightly faded red. Can you see that? Can you see that? Got the point? So the more will be the value. And if you keep it 0, it will be transparent. It will not be seen, right? But if I keep any value, let's say 0.6 and save that, 0.6 and save that. So now you'll see a slightly faded version of the same. And that is why I was using that in gradient. Now you got the point? that why I was using in the gradients, I was using RGBA. So I was saying starting from a darker shade, slowly fading it down. Make sense? So that will create a kind of like a blurry effect on that. Now everyone got an RGBA part, like why do we use RGBA? So A is basically an absolute value, which just basically tells the opacity of that color, like how opaque that color is going to be. So if you keep it like less than, greater than 0 and less than 1, that case it will be a kind of like a blurry color, right? So that way we use RGBA value. All good, all set. Any other doubt? Any other doubt? If you have any doubt, ask me, then we'll move ahead. Then we'll start to discuss on box models. Other people, any doubts? Any doubts? Quick. No, it's only for backgrounds, not on text. No. Chalo, let's start off. So today, what we're going to do, we are going to look into box models. One box model. Box model, again, it's a very important property in CSS. So you will be using that quite a lot, but you'll have to understand the depth of what basically box model does for you. Okay. So yeah. So let's do one thing. Let's comment these containers because they're taking a lot of space. So let's keep it this way. Okay. Let's also do, chalo, abhi filhal ke liye let's keep it this way. All right. Start kare? Should we start to discuss on box model? Start kare, guys. If you're ready, we are ready. Chalo. So let's go to OneNote and let's first try and understand what is box model. Okay. Anybody here who knows box model already? Anyone who knows box model by default? Okay. Aryan knows it. Aryan knows everything. Chalo. Let's start with box models then. So what are we discussing? We are discussing a topic called as box model. Try to understand box model, okay? Now, in box models, what do we do generally? In box model, we consider, and it's a very important point. First, very important point, everything in HTML, which you're trying to style is a box. It's just a box, nothing else. What does this mean? We'll talk about that. But important point to understand, everything that you're doing in your HTML is nothing but a box. It's just a box, nothing else, right? And we can style this box. We can style these boxes in the 3 areas. I mean, box को 3 areas में we can style them. First area is called as the border area. We have seen that when I was styling images, when I was giving you something on, your attribute selectors. If you remember, kal yaad hai kuch? I created a kind of like a border around with something, right? Even if you don't, we'll talk about it. Then the second property or the second basis on which we style it, it's called as padding. And then we style on third attribute, which is called as margin. Now, what is border, what is padding, and what is margin? Let's discuss about that. As CSS said, everything in HTML is a box. So let's design a box and let's try to understand what this box is. So if let's say this is a content that I have, let's say. So CSS says, hey, you are going to style this element based on a box. This box is going to have 3 properties: border, padding, and margin. How are they going to look like? They are going to look and style it like this. First, you'll have a border around with a box. Aapke paas, you'll have a border. The border is going to look something like this. So this part is the border part of any box. Border to pata hai sab logo ko, what is a border? Guys, border makes sense, right? The enclosing surroundings of any box is just a border. right? It's just a border. Any area which is inside the box, any area which is inside the box, this is called as padding. I'll explain it to you in a little while. This is called as padding. And anything which is outside the box is called as margin. ये तीन areas समझ आए? What are these three areas? When we'll do this practically, then you'll realize, oh, this is what is border, padding, and margin. But point समझ आया that what is a border? Any area which is surrounding the box. Okay, and then you have a padding. That padding is any area inside the box, and margin is basically any area outside the box. Okay, let's see this in practice and let's try to understand what's going on. Okay, so for that, let's go to the editor and let's try to style these two things, right? These two images, let's say. So let's go down here and let's grab the images. So I'm just using element selector. Now you can use whatever you want to. Selector is up to you. All right. So I'm just going to style the images. So as I said, in the box model, I told you that, yeah. So in the images, the first thing that we have to do, or first thing that we have to deal, is going to be the border. So there is a property called as border property. This border property takes three things. What does it take? It takes the width of the border. Width of the border. Then it takes the style of the border. And then it takes the color of the border. That's it. And that is how we mention how the border is going to look like. For example, border. And I'm going to give this border as to be, let's say, 2 pixels. This will be the width of the border. And the style, we'll talk about few other styles as well, but let's keep it solid for a while. So 2 pixels, most of the time you're going to use solid though. So 2 pixels solid, and let's keep it, let's say navy blue. If I save that, you'll see a navy blue colored border around it. Can you see that? Let's make this 5 pixels. Let's make this a little bit thicker. Okay, so let's say 5 pixels. Now, can you see the border around it? Guys, can you see a border around it? Okay. So this is the border property of the box model. Anything which is surrounding that box. Now, this box could be any box. It's not like it's just for images or anything like that. But we can also do that for paragraphs as well. So if I keep comma paragraph and save that, so even the paragraphs will be wrapped around with a border. Getting the point now? Guys, getting the point? So it's not like it's only for images or it's only for certain, it's not for certain images or certain elements. It's for every element. So as I said, everything in HTML is just a box. Okay. So I have this border. So border makes sense. Border makes sense at how we're creating the border. So width of the border, style of the border, the color of the border. That's it. So stylings are other different as well. There is something called as dotted border. So you'll see a dotted border around it. You'll not find a lot of people doing it, but yeah, dotted. Then you have something which is called as doubled. So you'll see double border around it. Okay, so there are a lot of styles, but I'll stick to solid. Okay, so I have a solid border around it. Now, what are the other two properties? As I told you, there is something which is called as padding. Okay, so when you mention padding, this padding is going to be mentioned as a area inside the box. So if I give the padding as to be, let's say 10 pixels, you'll see a difference. Just see the difference. If I save this, you'll see now the image will be a little bit taken a little bit inside. The border will now have a little content around it because inside the border space is known as a padding. Everyone can see that. Everyone is able to see that 10 pixel part. So again, if you go ahead and inspect this, you can even inspect this. down here. So let's say I'm inspecting the image for a while. So if you'll inspect the image, there is something which is called as box model, and you can also see that box model down here. Now you'll see there is a padding of 10 added around it. Can you see that? Just give me a second, guys. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, yeah. Just want to know, like, have you been in a position wherein your parent, like, I'll not say that they embarrass you, but sometimes they're like too much extra. Have you been there? Like, I've been there a lot of different times. Like, I'll be sitting in a meeting, like really, really important meeting with few clients and everything. And suddenly she starts to call and she starts to scream on me. Like, I still get scolded by my mom though. But yeah, it happens sometimes. Have you been there? Can anyone relate to me? So this happens. Yeah. So yeah, parents can't do anything. Anyways. So yeah, coming back. Coming back. So I hope now the padding wala part makes sense. Yeah, specifically moms. They're kind of like, yeah. They don't know what to say at what time and what to do at what time. When I even specifically tell them that I have a meeting, then they'll disturb me. I don't know why. She does. Actually, I have a very bad habit of like skipping dinners most of the time. So she screams on me. I don't know. Like, yeah. So that happens. Anyways, coming back. Okay. So padding, I think, makes sense. Padding part. Padding makes sense. Guys, padding makes sense. Now let's do one thing. Let's do one thing that let's see that in action. You can also do, again, you can do the same thing for paragraphs as well. Have a border around it, and you'll see that the content will be a little bit striped inside it because we have kept the padding as to be 10 pixels. Okay. So padding is something like this. Now we have something which is also called as margin. Now what's the margin? Margin is the area extends or the external to your border, like something like from here, like left hand side, right? You'll see it's very close to your, the area where it's starting from, the left border of the viewport. So let's say I want to add a margin. And what's really interesting about these parameters that you can also mention where do you need it, like left, right, where do you need it. So let's say I'll add a margin overall of, let's say, 20 pixel, and you'll see the difference just in a second. So if I save this, now you'll see that you have a little bit of a margin down here. Everyone can see that. Everyone is able to realize the margin part. Margin makes sense. Again, if you go ahead and try to inspect this, you'll be able to see the margin part down here. So you'll see that for the image, the margin is 20 pixels, the padding is 10 pixels. Everyone can see that? Everyone can see this, right? So image having a margin of 20 pixel, padding of 10 pixel. Cool. Now you'll also find a lot of people writing it on different ways. Okay? People have a habit of writing it in two different ways. Whenever you're mentioning any padding or any margin, you'll find it people writing in three ways in total. So either you'll see people writing it values like this. Then let's say I'm giving a padding. So the padding will be, let's say, X pixels, or let's say, let's keep it A pixels, or let's keep it let's keep it X pixels and then Y pixels, something like this. Even you will find people writing it like this: X pixel, Y pixel, Z pixel, and let's say A pixel or something like that. Saying that you can also give it 2 values, 4 values, or just 1 value the way I used it, or just let's say X pixels. Now, how to use these values, right? That's important. So what happens is that if you are giving only 2 values, listen to me very carefully. If you're only giving 2 values, in this case, you're only mentioning the values as for top and right. Oh, sorry, top and bottom, top, bottom. And then you're mentioning the values of left and right. Got the point? So X will be applied to top and bottom. Y will be applied to left and right. Does this make sense? Guys, does this make sense? Okay. So if you're only, we'll see this in action in a while. But if you're only giving 2 values, the first value will be applied to top and bottom. The second value will be applied to left and right. Similarly, if you'll have a look on this 4 positions, so this 4 position basically starts from the top and go to the your clockwise direction. So how does it start? It starts from the X value will be applied to top, Y value will be applied to right, Z value will be applied to bottom, and your A value will be applied to left, right? And then X pixel will be applied to all the 4 directions. Just the way we saw it, all the 4 directions. So you'll find people writing it this way. Okay, so let's see this in action. Okay, let's comment this off for a while and save this. Again, it will come back to its original position. Let's actually see that in action. So even if you write, let's say padding, and I want the padding to be, let's say 5 pixels for top and bottom and 10 pixels for left and right, and you'll see the difference immediately. Can you see that? Everyone can see that. For top and bottom, it's less. For right and left and right, it's more. And again, if you'll try to inspect this page, if you'll try to inspect the image, you're going to see padding which is applied is 5 pixels. And you'll see here, if you inspect this page and try to see the box model, you'll see 5 pixel is for top and bottom, 10 pixel is for left and right. Make sense this? Guys, samajh aaye ye? How are we doing this? 5, 10, 5, 10. Again, you can, let's add a margin, or let's do it this way. Let's also keep the padding, and let's mark this padding as for 4 directions. So let's say padding, and now it's going to look ugly, but just to demonstrate that. So 5 pixel, 10 pixels, 15 pixels, and 20 pixels. Okay, if I save that, you'll see starting from here, it's less 5 pixels. Then from here, it's 10 pixels, slightly greater than here, and then 20 pixels down here. Again, if you'll inspect this, you'll see the difference. So 5, 10, 15, 20, clockwise direction. Make sense? So you can even add margins these way. You can also add padding this way. So please keep in mind, you can also use it something like this. Okay. And there are dedicated selectors for that also. For example, if let's say if I want to add padding, let's say I'm just using it this way. Let's say if I'm adding padding throughout the whole thing. So let's say I'm adding a padding as let's say 10 pixels throughout. Okay. So if I save this, it's gonna come back. But you can also mention that you only need the margin to the left. So you can write margin dash left. And let's say the margin left that I need will be, let's say 20 pixels. So it will just slightly get it. Now nothing will happen to the top or right or anywhere, but it will only add margin 20 pixels to the left. Okay? Huh? Is there any float also in box? No, floats are different. Floats are completely different. When we'll do Flexboxes, then you'll realize that, oh, this is how it's done. Okay. So yeah, I hope you got the box model part. Box model makes sense. Now here you will see, see. Here you will see that your image here is not aligned properly, right? So you'll see at the top, you don't have much of a margin. So what you can do, you can just grab only this image. So let's actually give this as an ID of, let's say, now you don't want it for image 1 though, because image 1 is pretty sorted. But for image 2, you need it a little bit. So let's give it an ID of image-2. Let's grab this, copy, save it, and coming back to styles. And what I'll do, I'll say margin top. And I'll be needing a margin top of, let's say, 10 pixels or something like that. If I save that, you'll see that it's a little bit distorted. Let's keep it actually 15. Got the point? Guys, got the point? Now it looks a little bit just like the image number 1. Okay, na? So this is how we use box model. And this is how we align the stuff, or I'll say this is how we segregate stuff from each other. Got the point? If you're okay, if you're good till here, just quickly give me a yes, then we'll move ahead. Quickly. Waiting for everyone. If you have doubts, give me your doubts. If you find that, yeah, this makes sense, just quickly give me a yes, then we'll move ahead and start to discuss few other parts. Start kare? Margin top is for margin only at the top. So if you'll inspect this page or inspect this, you'll see that you only have margin 20 pixels at the end. As you'll see the margin 0 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixel, only 20 pixels. Harshita. So just only for one designated position, you can use it. You definitely can do that. Okay, you can do that. That's up to you how you're doing that. Okay, start. Let me actually tell you about few things about fonts. We didn't do fonts, right? Did we do fonts? Fonts kiya kya hum logon ne? We didn't change fonts, right? Okay. Let's do fonts for a while. So let's talk about fonts. Now, by default, you'll see a font which is given to you. Okay. But before we jump into fonts, let me actually tell you about two very important families of font. Okay. There are two families which are pretty dedicated. Like it's been there for quite a long time now. But yeah, you will be looking into two families of fonts. So let's get rid of this and let's start to talk of fonts and font family. So what are we doing? We are doing fonts and font family. So there is two very important families, as I told you. One family is called as a serif family. The another family is called as, I'm not sure if you know about this family or not, but the other family is called as sans serif family. Okay. So there are two types of fonts that we have. No, today is the last session, by the way, Mahima. Today is the last session for the whole workshop. Okay. Yeah. So we have a serif. First is serif. The second is sans serif. Now you'll immediately will find out the difference between both of them once I tell you that this is serif and this is sans serif. Just by looking at a font, you'll be able to find out what family it belongs to. Okay. Now, if you go back to your app, that I'm about to discuss. Wait a second, Suraj. If we needing that, we can have a look at it. Just give me a second. Okay. So if I go back to my project that I have, and if I try to inspect the body of the, the whole application. So let's bring it down. Let's say if I talk about the HTML and try to see what is the font. Okay. So if I talk about the font by default, and this is a very safe font. This font is called as, if I inspect the whole body, whole everything, you'll be able to see that there is a font which is called as 16 pixels times. Can everyone see that? 16 pixels time. If I go ahead and inspect the page, you'll see there is a font which is by default given to you, which is 16 pixels times, right? As I told you, times is a part of serif family. And how do you realize that serif? Now, if I make this up a little bit bigger, if you'll see the text down here, just have a concentration on M. You'll see the edges of the M will be made it out here. If you'll see that there is a edge made for M, I'll just draw it for you so that you understand it. You'll see, even if you write M in serif family, if you write M, so the M is going to look like this. It will have a kind of like a weird looking borders around it, like something like this. Or you're getting the point? You're getting the point? So you'll see these corners, these edges by default made for, yeah, this is default. So or if anything that you'll be selecting from serif, they are going to look like this. And I'll give you an example in a little while. But these are serif fonts. And they only look good in official documentations, in official pages. For example, research paper, newspaper, and all that official pages. Serif looks good. But if you're creating websites, most of the time you're going to stick to your sans serif family. Sans serif is a good way of representing any font, sans serif. So what happens down here is that if you navigate to a very beautiful website given to you by Google itself, yeah, articles, web articles and research papers, newspaper, all that things. So there is a thing which is called as fonts.google.com. So down here, you can browse fonts. Everyone can see this? Everyone can see this? So there is a link which is called as fonts.google.com. I'm just going to copy this and paste it down in your chat section also. So from here, you can browse fonts, whatever you want. Okay. So this is what we have. Okay. Now down here, you can go ahead and have a look on a lot of different fonts, but there are few fonts which you will find very common to a lot of web pages, web articles, and websites. This font is called as Poppins font, or either you'll find people using Poppins or you'll find people using Roboto. Both of them are generally found on a Roboto is down here. So you'll see that this is way better looking font. Can you see that? It's better than the this is better than the serif font, right? You can use this font in your web applications also. Okay. But I'm going to stick to Poppins. So there is a font which is called as Poppins font. I use this and I recommend this most of the time, but you can use it however that you want to use it. Okay. So let's keep it. You can even mention how big you want the font to be. All right. They look almost the same, but as I said, Roboto and Poppins, most of the time you're going to see them just like this. So you'll see that you have the font size. So there are two properties of a font. The name of the font, which here is Poppins for us, the name of the font, the size of the font, and the weight of the font. So there are weights, and these weight ranges from 100 to 800, 900, right? And these just tells you the thickness of the font. Generally, what do? We go to 300 and 600. I'll tell you why. So what I'll do, Abhi, you'll understand everything. Okay. So I've selected a font called as Poppins font. And then from Poppins, what I'll do, I'll select any, font size, but I can also adjust the font size in my CSS. So I'm not going to get worried about this. So I'm just going to select two weights. One is the light 300 is what I'm going to select. And I'm going to select 600. And you will see a kind of like a link, or I'll say you'll find an import down here. Everyone can see this import. So I've selected two things, light 300 and semi-bold 600. Two weights I have selected for a font, Poppins font. Guys, does this make sense? Guys, does this make sense? Yahan tak clear hai? Abhi add kaise karenge, we'll see that. But I hope this much amount is okay. Anybody who's confused till here? Anyone who's confused? Imports are better option. Okay, you can also add a link to your HTML, but we segregate HTML and CSS part most of the time. And you'll also will realize this family belongs to sans serif, not serif family. Everyone can see that? Everyone can see this font family. So the name of the font is Poppins, but it belongs to sans serif family. Okay, so please keep that in mind. And what you need to just do is from @import, just copy that import, go back to your CSS, and at the top, before you do anything, any styling, just paste that import and save it. Okay, nothing's gonna happen. The reason is that we are going to now attach a font family because we have imported a font family. Now we'll add that. The name of the font family is Poppins. And as it's depicted down here as well, the safe font is going to be sans serif. So comma sans serif. If this couldn't be imported, we're going to stick to sans serif. So comma sans serif. If I save this, you'll see the whole texture will change. Everyone can see that? The whole font will change. Guys, make sense? You'll see that we have successfully imported another font. Okay, the font is looking something like this. Make sense? Guys, does this make sense? Now, you'll see that here, what comment should I write? What should I write down here? Oh, you mean, okay. So for the font family, you mention what you call it as an imported font. And then comma, a safe font. Now, the reason we add safe font, let me actually tell you that. The reason we add a safe font, as I told you, that if let's say this couldn't be imported, the safe font will work. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Now, there are a lot of things that you can now align or arrange for that. Now here you'll see that the font size or the font is 32 pixels, Poppins sans serif, right? And even for here, you'll find the font to be 16 pixels. So you can add in another one also, right? You can add in another font, import it, and for all the paragraphs and H1s and wherever you want those fonts to be, you can add in another font family. Okay? So you can do that. But see, guys, please keep that in mind. Don't import a lot of things from the internet. The reason is your web page will load in somebody else's computer. Okay? So that is going to take more amount of time. The reloading will be more. Everything will be more. The time consumption will be more and all that. Okay, so don't import a lot of different things in just one file in one application. That is going to harm a lot of different things. Sorry for that. Make sense? So don't import too much. But yeah, you can use it this way. Fonts make sense. Guys, fonts make sense to everyone. That what is a font? Okay, all good. Now down here, what you can do, as I told you, there are two properties that you can use with a font. There is something which is called as font size. And let's say I'm just going to keep the font size. Now, by default, the font size of any heading is 32 pixels. As you'll see down here, also it's 32 pixels by default. But you can change this also in the CSS. So again, if I go down here, I can mention the font size as to be, let's say, 40 pixels. Okay, so if I save that, now it will be 40 pixels. The H1 will be 40 pixels. Okay. You can also mention the font weight, as I just told you. Font weight. And let's say I'm just going to keep the font weight as to be 600. Save that. Now it will be 600. Okay. Are we supposed to use only one font in the whole website, or we will be using multiple of them? What is the best practice? Most of the time, if I am creating any website, I keep the whole font to be same. Now try and understand from the user experience point of view. Will you like it if your user is seeing different fonts at different positions? Think about it. right? So it doesn't looks good and it doesn't feels good. If you want to do it, you can, but up to you. Yeah, of course, including and importing a lot of fonts, a lot of images, videos. It just increases the reloading time. So everything is needed to be imported from the other resources. For example, you're getting colors, and that color is needed to be mixed and all that. This takes a little bit time. So just be a little okay with your CSS. Don't go crazy while you're styling something. Okay, cool. So that's what I'm telling you. Now, I choose 3 font weights. Oh, sorry, 2 font weights. Font weight 600, font weight 300. Did you realize that? You might have seen that. Have you seen that? So what we basically do, we keep that for H1 and H2 or subheadings, we keep a different font weight, which we just wanted to look a little bold. Okay. So what do? We do is that for H1 and for H2, so H2 is basically subtitle. Here I'm just going to keep the font weight as to be 600 so that it looks a little bold. But for all the rest remaining of the body, I'm just going to keep the font weight has to be 300 only. Now, if you expand this page, now you'll see and realize this looks pretty good. Does this make sense? So for heading, we have to manage a weight. And for other remaining properties, for example, paragraphs, we have to just keep it a little low, not too much heavy. Don't want to make it look bold, but you'll immediately will realize that, oh yeah, this actually looks good. Got it? Got it, guys? So you can use it this way. So this is not looking good. So let me actually, for the paragraph, let me actually get rid of that ugly looking color. Where have I mentioned that? Yeah. I think this is subtitle. No. Where have I mentioned that? Like the finding styles now, when you want to change something, it's really, really annoying. This is a paragraph, right? Still want the color to look like this. So yeah, so this is how it looks like. Looks pretty, right? The font looks pretty nice as compared to that of what we have done. Okay, and even this border is, this table is looking ugly. So let's change the table and give it a border property as for 1. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Make sense, people? All good? All set? Fonts make sense? Fonts make sense? And there is also one more thing that you can do with text is, I just wanted to tell you, so I'm just telling it to you. Most of the time, you'll also find in the headings, there is another property written down there, which is called as text align. So text align basically tells where do you want to put your text. So I'm just going to keep it center. So this is how it's going to look like. So this is text, font, font weight, font family, save fonts and all that. You're good till here. Quickly give me a yes. Then we'll move ahead and start to discuss on other part. All set? All good? Now we are going to move on to alignment part. This alignment that I'm about to talk about, this alignment is going to be very, very important. The very important alignment that we are going to see for the day is going to be an alignment which is used most of the time. We'll see some other creations as well out of the box, but yeah, we'll see that. Okay, so for that, what I'm going to do, I am going to create something. Okay, so in the HTML, where should I put it? Let's put it after this, somewhere here, before services. Let's put it here. Let's create a div. Okay, inside this div, I'm going to create different other divs as well. And I'm just going to keep something inside them. So let's say div, and let's say I'm just going to call it A. Okay, copy this, paste it down. Let's say I'm just going to call this A, B. Let's call it C, let's call it D, let's call it E. All right. If I save this, it's gonna look something like this: A, B, C, D, E, right? Which is fine. It's completely fine. Now what I'll do, I'll give them classes. Okay, I'll give them classes. All the divs, I'm gonna give them class. So this div, and this div also, I'm gonna mention a class property. What will be the class? I'm just gonna call this container class. So one is your container. Do I have any other container also? But I've commented that out, so that's fine. So main div, which is containing all the other divs, I'm just gonna call that container. And the remaining, which are inside that container, I'm just gonna name as them to be container item. Make sense? That how have I created that? Again, if you'll save that, nothing's gonna happen because we didn't do any styling. But I hope that how am I aligning them makes sense. Guys, is it fine? Is it fine? That what have I done? I'll start to make it look a little bit pretty, but let's wait for a while. So this is what I've done. Oh, okay. So you can click while pressing on control. So if you press control and click at multiple different positions in VS Code, this will give you multiple cursors and you can write it. Try it and you'll realize that, yeah, this works. Okay. Start करें guys अभी? Shall we start? Shall we start? If you're ready, we can start off. Start करें? Chalo. Now, first thing that I'll do, the very first thing that I'll do, I will set the background of this thing. So first, let's talk about what are we, okay, first let's style that. Then we'll talk about what are we talking about. Okay. I'm not gonna go too much inside it into the styling part, but yeah, like I'm just gonna give a minimalistic styling. So what are we doing? First of all, let me actually give you that. We are gonna talk about Flexbox. What is Flexbox? I'll explain it to you, but yeah, we're gonna have a look on Flexbox. So for Flexbox, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take onto a container, the main container that I have, and I'm just gonna set few values. First of all, I'll select the background color, and I'm just gonna keep the background color as to be black. First of all, so let's say 255 or 256, 256, and 256. I save that. It's gonna be white. Oh, sorry, why I was calling it black. So white background, and then what will I simply do? I'll add a little bit of a padding. So let's say padding of 10 pixels, so that it moves them a little bit inside that. And then I'm just gonna add a margin top of, because as you'll see, the margin top, let's say I'm just gonna add it 10 pixels. Okay, just like this. Now what I'll do, I'll go ahead and style the container items. Okay, and in that container items, what will I do? I'll set a background color. Let's say the background color is going to be, let's say, green. Green's gonna look good. So if I save that, nothing's gonna happen because, of course, we'll do something first. The color, I'll set that to, wait. Is it item or items? It's item. This is why it's not getting aligned. Okay, so I have a green now, but green ke andar the color doesn't suits black, so let's keep it white. All right, so it's gonna look like this. Now what will I do? I will font size. Let's set the font size also because it's looking very small. Let's say font size has to be, let's say, 25 pixels. So nice. And then let's do one thing, that text align them to, let's say, center. Okay, so they're gonna look like this. So text align center. Let's also set the width and height property. So let's say width has to be, let's say, 70 pixels. If I save that, it's gonna look like this. So width is just 70 pixels. And there is something which is called as margin across with each. And let's say the margin that I'm going to keep is, let's say 10 pixels, so that it segregates everybody. Got it? So this is how I have created few things down here. That's just a A, B, C, D, E, and they're looking like boxes now. Make sense? Guys, make sense? So this is how we style it. Got it? There's nothing. Once you start to get into CSS, you'll be able to do that by yourselves. The whole point is that how much are you going to practice about it? So this is how I'm creating few small little boxes. Boxes make sense? Boxes make sense? All's fine with the boxes? Samajh aaya that how I created the boxes? Boxes clear hai? Guys, quickly. Are the boxes clear? Chalo. Now we'll be talking about Flexboxes, but before I go ahead and start to discuss on Flexboxes, I just want to give you a few things. Okay. Now try to understand the whole concept of Flexboxes first. Once you actually understand it, then is when I'll be explaining you how the whole websites are designed in modern approaches. Okay, then I'll tell you that. So let's move down here and let's start to discuss on that. Now, when you talk of Flexboxes, Flexboxes are a very, very important concept in CSS. So what are we looking into? We're going to look into Flexbox. So in Flexboxes, what are we going to do? First, let's talk about what Flexbox is. Basically, Flexbox shorts for flexible boxes. Flexible boxes. These Flexboxes are, Flexboxes are easy to maintain. And easy to adjust. Adjust part is very, very easy. Most of the time you're going to use Flexboxes for content alignment. And I'll tell you how you can align that content. So content alignment. Right? So this is why we'll be using Flexboxes. Most important point that you will be using that for content alignment, that how you're aligning the content. Now, very first thing that I want to draw your attention towards, I don't know if you might have realized this or not, but by default, anything that you're doing in your HTML, anything that you have written in your HTML will by default will get rendered from top to bottom. Have you seen that? Have you seen that? That always, oh, let's do one thing. Wait a second. I got an idea. I have an idea. Wait, let's do it. That, what have we done in the body, by the way? So if I set the background, but the background, okay, yeah, let's keep it. Let's try it. I think this might work. Not sure, but this, I'm pretty sure it might work. So if I copy that, save it. It looks okay. Should we keep it this way or should I keep the background as free? Which one do you prefer? Guys, which one do you prefer? Tell me. White. Okay, let's keep it white. Okay, so let's keep it this way. Okay, na? Okay. I was just assuming stuff. Now, Flexboxes, as I told you, it's basically used to align content. But if you want to use Flexboxes, there is one condition or one rule that you have to follow all the time. The first rule will be, there will be a div or any container that is going to hold items inside it. Listen to me carefully. This might confuse you up a little bit, but yeah, this is how it works. There should be a container, a div container, which should hold items inside it. For example, the kind of the setup that we have a div. If you'll see the HTML, we have a div, a container div, inside which I'm containing a lot of different items, like these boxes, A, B, C, D, E boxes, right? So always there should be a parent, and that parent should be having a lot of elements. Once we'll do everything, then we'll create a navigation bar out of it. then you'll realize that, oh, this is how we do it. Okay. So yeah. So this is important to have that a container and container containing items. Okay. Now, by default, as I told you, by default, your HTML, this is a default nature that your HTML render content in only one direction. And what is that direction? Top to bottom. Yahi hota hai? Guys, this happens all the time. Yes or no? Yes or no, guys? Yes or no? So in that case, this is the default behavior. But the whole point here is that what if I want content, but not top to bottom, but left to right? I want to align something left to right. That could happen. This is a valid question, right? This is a valid question. That what if I want to align two things side by side to each other? That could happen, right? So I don't, and now I want, now listen to me, now I want these content, ABCDE, this ABCDE content to be aligned rather than like this, top to bottom. I want to align them horizontally, left to right. This is where Flexboxes comes into picture. And using Flexboxes, you can do a lot of different things that I'll explain you in a little while. Okay, start kare. Shall we start? If you're ready, we can start off. Flexboxes. Okay. Try to understand it carefully because this is really, really important. Okay. So please understand it. So first property that will apply will be on the parent container, the container which is holding everything. So as I told you, there is a display property, and this display property is really, really important. Using this display property, you can just use whatever you want to. Now, first display property, which I just want to give you, is called as display none. And if you save that, everything will be gone. Can you see that? Can you see that? The whole thing is gone just by writing display none. It's still there, but it's not getting rendered. Guys, so it's a styling which is available in your HTML, but it's not showing up. The reason is you wrote display none. So if you want something to be invisible, you just have to put that as to be display none. Or anytime like something like if you're using JavaScript, HTML and CSS, you want to say that there is a section called as hide. Let's say you have a hide button. So when you click on that button, you want to change the display property to none or something like that. You got the point? Guys, you got the point? So this is how you combine everything and create dynamic applications. But yeah, there is a display property like something like none. Similarly to as that of none, there is a display property which is called as flex. Flex means the flex box. And I just want everyone, okay, before I go ahead and do that display flex, I just want to save that. Just want it to come back. Once it's back, now I just want you guys to just see the difference, just the difference. The moment I will write display as flex, just see the difference. If I save this, did you see something? Did you see something? Now you get the point. What is Flexbox? I didn't do anything. I was just writing everything just like normally. But the only thing that I did was I wrote them as to be display flex. And what is actually good about Flexbox is that even if you expand the page, they will expand automatically. Okay. So that is how we use Flexboxes. All right. So yeah, Flexboxes is used for aligning content. Floats also do the same thing actually, but we don't use floats anymore. It's pretty much deprecated. We used to use floats way long back when the Flexboxes were not there. Okay. And it's very hard to manage actually, you know, these floats and all that, but we don't use it anymore. Even like 99% of the time, whoever used to use floats, they have come to Flexboxes now anyways. Okay. So guys, all good, all set. Flexboxes make sense. Display flex. That's fine. Hey, that's fine. Now start to use Flexboxes. Okay, guys, display flex. All good, all set, sure, pakka. Sure. And then, as you will see, if you expand this, you'll see that your boxes are still here. They are not moving. They are not taking the whole width, which is kind of like annoying. Can you see that? It's kind of annoying that even if you are making this look at this way, you would be wanting that your boxes should move alongside depending upon the width. Don't you want that? Guys, don't you want that? So in that case, there is a property for display for Flexboxes, which is called as justify content. And if you keep the justify content as to be, let's say, space around, there are a lot. There is something which is called as space between. If I save that, and now if I try to expand it, can you see that now? Can you see that? So this is a responsive behavior, and Flexboxes are pretty responsive by default. Can you see that? They'll align themselves up automatically. You don't have to do anything. They'll align themselves up, like just like this. Got it? Guys, got it now? So this is how you can use Flexboxes. All right. Now, I just want to like tell you, though generally you'll not use it too much, but I just want to like give it to you. There is something which is called as flex direction also. So by default, flex direction is set to row, but you can also set that to column, which was initially the case. But you can also keep it to row the way we were doing it, row, and it's going to get aligned like this, right? So you can also change flex direction, though generally you'll not use this flex direction, but I just wanted to tell you that there is a property something like flex direction. Okay, let's actually make this more interesting, shall we? Isko thoda sa aur interesting banaye. If you are interested, I can just make it a little bit more interesting so that you understand the whole concept for Flexboxes. You want to have a look on it? Chalo, nice. So let's do it this way. Let's say I'm just going to copy a div and I'm just going to paste this down because everybody has the same class. So let's say E, let's say F, G, H, I, and let's say J. So I have few more content now. So again, if I save this, it's going to look something like this. Now you might have just realized the moment I added this, you might have realized the actual width of each and every box is now reduced from what it used to be before. Did you realize that? Did you realize that? That each box width is now reduced automatically. The reason is we incorporated more content inside it. Now, most of the time you don't want to do that. So for that, in Flexboxes, you have a property which is called as flex wrap. So what does this flex wrap do? Flex wrap basically tells you that can I wrap the content? And if I actually wrap the content and see the difference. Now, if I save this, did you see a difference? Did you see a difference? Getting it? Getting it now? They'll automatically will now come to new line, just like this, and they'll align themselves automatically depending upon what's the viewport and how everything is going to look like. Getting the point, guys? Flex wrap makes sense. What is flex wrap? So if you have a whole lot of content and you want to just be that they should be able to align themselves properly, you actually can go ahead and do that. Okay. So there are two properties for flex wrap. Either it's flex wrap wrap or it's flex wrap no wrap. So if you keep it no wrap, that means it's not gonna wrap. If you keep it wrap, it's just gonna wrap. So it's not like wrap, the wrap, but it's like wrap something around it. Okay. So it's not gonna wrap for you. It's not DJ or like G-Eazy or Drake or anybody that's gonna rap. It's just like a rap. Okay. So yeah. Anyways, coming back. Jokes aside. So let's actually talk about this justify content, shall we? So there are two other things, like few other things also that you can do apart from space between. There are a few other properties as well. Do you want to have a look? Just in case if you want to have a look, we can have a look for it for a little scale. Shall we? Take nine. Few other values that you can give to justify content. So the justify content, the one thing that you just had a look on is your space between. So in space between, you're going to see, where have I kept that? Yeah. So in space between, you'll see that even when the items are wrapping, they are having space between each other. Can you see that? Are you able to see that? This is what is mean by space between. That when you have items, they're going to contain spaces around each other. So that is why in between of these spaces. But there is also something which is called as space around. And see the difference. Did you see a difference? Space around. That means all the four directions, not just in between, but also to the left and also to the top and bottom. Got a little difference? Space between and space around. So that is also you can do. And even for justify content, you can use something which is called as flex start. So everything will align at the start. And even if you try to make it like this, they will align and they'll align on the base of the start. So you'll see it this way, right? Just like this, right? Then you have flex end also. So you can use flex end and they will align on the end part to the right hand side, just like this. So the alignment will happen on the end of the flex box or the flex container, just like this. Okay, so you can use it this way also, but most of the time either you're going to people use start or you can just use space around or whatever you want to use. What if we want the number of boxes to be equal on top and bottom? फायदा ही क्या हुआ फिर Flexbox यूज करने का? Aryan, what's the point of using Flexboxes then? Getting the point? So either you have flex wrap. For flex wrap, you can use, so you'll see it this way. Either you can use wrap, no wrap, and then there is also something which is called as wrap reverse. So in wrap reverse, what's going to happen is it's going to wrap it in the reverse order, just like this, which generally you won't be needing it. So that's the reason I didn't tell you. So most of the time for flex wrap, you're only going to keep it wrap, not wrap reverse, just wrap, just like this. Getting the point, people? Getting the point? All good? Yeah? Okay. So this is how we use Flexboxes. Just in case if you need a little kind of like a demo on Flexboxes, that how to create NavBar, we can have a look on it. Just in case if you're interested. Do you want to see how we can create a navigation bar? Sure. Let's do that then. Okay. So for NavBar, we'll be creating a different HTML for that. So yeah, let's use NavBar for that. So for NavBar, let's create something as an HTML. Let's see that. Chalo, so start करें. Let's create NavBar first. NavBar बनाएं फटाफट से. Let's make a NavBar before the heading. Let's create a NavBar here. Shall we? Shall we start? Okay, shall we start? If you're ready, we'll create the HTML first and then we'll style it to look like a NavBar. Just above here. Ready? You ready? Everyone is ready? Now, if you remember the your assignment, then you definitely will realize the HTML5 semantics also. So there is a HTML5 semantic called as header. I'm using header again. You can use div if you want to, up to you. But I stick to the header as a HTML5 semantic. Okay. Then down here, what I'll do, I'll add an image. So for the image, wait a second. First, I'll add the image. Let me see what kind of images do I have. Images. Oh, these are the Moji images. Oh, let's take this GIF. This is gonna look good. You know, so let's copy. Oh, wait. So let's duplicate this. Let's duplicate this. And let's rename this to, let's say logo.gif. Okay, let's put it down to our folder. In the workshop, let's put it to assets and let's paste this down here. All right, so now in the assets, we'll be having a GIF. Let's add that to our logo though. Okay, so let's give it a logo, and the logo here, it's gonna be a folder up, go to assets, go to GIF. That's gonna look good. And let's also give it a class so that we'll be able to style it up. Let's give it a logo class. Alt, it's just gonna be a logo. It's a good habit of writing alt though. Okay, now is where we'll start to create navigation bar. Now, for the people who would be asking me, think about this. As I told you, Flexboxes will be creating navigation bars from Flexboxes. So this header will act like a container for us. And everything that you can see, I'm containing inside this header. So yeah, that is something that we'll do. Now inside this nav bar, I'll put a UL, just like a UL, and I'll just give it a class so that I'll be able to style it. So I'll give it a, let's say, nav links. Most of the time I create my navigation bar just like this also. Okay, so let's say in the li, what I'll do, I'll contain an anchor tag of going literally nowhere, or yeah, like literally nowhere. And let's call it we are working on an index HTML file, right? So let's call it home. Yeah, let's keep it home. And do I have something like in the, let's give it an HTML, and from HTML I just want to go to home.html maybe, so that you just have a working way that how we are creating that. And similarly, I'm just going to copy it, paste it down. I'm just going to create multiple sections though. So let's say home, projects, let's say projects, or let's not say projects. Let's actually keep it something else. Let's keep it services. Let's keep it, let's say products. Okay. And let's keep it this way. Let's say about us, let's say. All right. So just a small little thing that I've created down here: services, products, about us, home, and all that. And once this navigation bar is complete, at the end, I'm just going to create a anchor tag. And this anchor tag is just going to go nowhere, but this anchor tag is going to contain a button saying contact or whatever button that you want to go ahead and create. Okay, so this is the bare minimum HTML that I'm writing. Okay, just a small little HTML that I've created, which basically contains 3 flex items. 1, the image, the logo. 2nd, the navigation. And the 3rd is the anchor, the button. Okay, if I save this, what happened? Oh yeah, it's there. So as I'll save it, you'll see it's gonna look something like this. But let's do one thing, that this is also an image and I've typically given it an image. So let's keep it this way. That ID image 2, I'm just gonna grab this, copy, and put it to another image. Where is the other image? Here. Save that. Go back here. Get rid of the image stylings that I've done down here. So the image stylings, you want that, you want that. I don't want the whole thing, but let it be. And I'm just gonna say comma hash image 2. So this will not get, styled up. And I'm just gonna add a border. Okay, just like this. Now let's create the nav bar. Are you ready? Let's style these nav bars, shall we? Guys, start करें. Start करें. If you're ready, I'm ready. Chalo. All right, so background is all set, everything is all set. The only thing that we have to do is to style these things up. Okay, so what are we styling? We are styling the nav bar. Okay, and see how we are gonna style them using Flexboxes. So very first thing that I have this header, which is the parent. So we'll have to make it flex so that everything get aligned properly. Okay, so let's get the header first. And in the header, the very first thing that I'll do is display flex. So everything will align. So as I told you, the Flexbox has three properties or three children, which were what? Which was the image. As I told you, the children that it has, the image, the nav bar, the whole nav bar, as you'll see down here, the whole nav bar and a small little button. So they got aligned. Okay. Now I'll have to justify the content because everything is on the left hand side. So I'll just say justify content and I'll justify the content as for space between. If I save that, it's going to look like this. Okay. As you'll see, slowly and gradually, everything of the navigation bar will start to fall in place. But yeah, we'll have to keep it this way. And you can also use align items and you can use these align items to center. So everything will align in the center. Okay, just like this. Then I'll add a little bit of a padding and I'll say 30 pixels for top and bottom. And let's say 10 pixels for left and right, just like this. Okay, it will look pretty, but as of now, it's not looking that pretty, but yeah, we'll make it look pretty in a while. Okay, so this is what I've done. So that's it for the container. Let's actually look at few things for logo. So because this logo is kind of like bigger, so I've given the classes for logo, right? Yeah. So let's keep this as to height. Let's adjust its height. Let's say 100 pixels, more than enough. Not even 100 pixels. Just a second. Let me actually inspect this. The whole thing has a padding. Padding of 30 pixels is not good. So let's actually keep it to just 10 pixels. Not even 10 pixels though, but yeah, let's see it. But yeah, we'll align it, then we'll adjust the padding. Okay, so this is what we have done. I reduced the height of the logo, which is, let's say 100 pixels. Now, these navigation links are also looking horribly ugly. So let's actually, is it nav links or nav link? I'll have to check. It's nav links. And inside that nav links, I have li. So inside nav links, I have li. So I just want to style them. So first of all, I'll again will make them display. So there is another display property which I just want to give you, which is called as inline block. Okay, so just see what happens if I keep it inline block. So inline block basically just reduces everything into the same way, because again, if you're using inline block inside Flexboxes, it's gonna align them properly, but it's adjustable basically. Okay, it's kind of like adjustable now. Let's also add a little bit of a padding. So let's add a padding of 0 pixels top and bottom, and let's add 20 pixels left and right. Okay, so this is how it's going to look like. Just like this. Okay, we'll style everything just to well. So this way, or let's keep it 15 pixels if you want to. 15 is going to look, yeah, 15 looks better. All right, so we have these nav links now. Now, after this nav links, you can actually have a kind of like a hover effect if you want to. So I'll grab the whole thing up, but I'll add a property of let's call it on the anchor tags. I just want to have a look on the hover property. It's going to look like this, the hover property. And let's say I'll just change the color to be, let's say, gray, something like that. Okay, so if I hover over them, you'll see they'll have a gray background or a gray something. What else could be done? Also, what you can do you can just grab this anchor tag, and just in case if you want to, though it's up to you. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So you can just get rid of the text decoration. It's gonna look like this. Okay. And let's do one more thing so that it looks just a little bit more pretty. After this, let's create an HR. Okay, just like this. What color? So we're changing colors on the hover. Na? Let's actually style this button. The button is looking ugly. Let's style the button. Guys, shall we style the button for a while? Style kare button ko. So let's style the button for a while. So let's say that the name was, I think, button, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, button. I'm using button. So let's style that button. So in the button, I'll add a little bit of a padding first. So let's say 10 pixels, top and bottom, 25 left and right. So yeah, looks pretty now. Okay. Then let's also give it a background color. As for, let's get it out. Let's keep it black, maybe. And let's say the color will be white. Okay. Do you want a black button or like any other button that you want? Huh? Guys, batao. What do you want? Gray button? Do you need gray button? Oh, gray button looks bad. You want to create a gradient? But don't create gradients, man. And you can also do is chalo. Black, I think black is gonna look good. Or even if, okay, it's completely up to you though. I'm not gonna go into like colors or anything, but yeah, the color part. I told you I'm bad at colors. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to the convention. Okay. So this is what I've done. Also, let's keep it this way. That for button hover effect, you can also do that. So button hover, I'm just gonna change the background color to RGBA value to 0, 0, because it's gonna be a black 0, 0, 0. I'm just gonna fade this off a little bit, just like 0.3. So if I hover over it, it will change. So 0.3 looks bad. So 0.7. So if I hover over it, you'll see an hover effect. Let's not even do 0. Let's keep it 0.8. It's just smooth. Correct? So this is how we have created the navigation bar, and this is how it looks like. Okay, guys? Okay, na? This is how it looks like. You can span them across if you want to. You can add a more padding across with them and all that. But yeah. Oh, it's fine. It's fine, Ajinkya. Yeah. So this is how we have used Flexboxes and created a navigation bar. Does this make sense? There's a small little logo, a small little button. We have small little hover effects on them. We also have, you know, like hover effect on this, and we have a bouncy little, you know. So this is how we can use Flexboxes and all that. So this pretty much wraps up the styling wala part. I'm not gonna go. Of course, there is a lot of other things also that you can learn about stylings, but that's like pretty much it from like the workshop part. Okay, so this is the basics that I can just tell you about HTML and CSS. But again, there is a lot of things that you can go ahead and cover out in like CSS, go into way better details and all that. So yeah, but the time doesn't allow so much. So let's keep it till here. I hope the stylings, I am pretty sure that you might have learned a little bit here and there. Yeah. So let's get commit this. What have we done today? We had look on box models. Then what else did we had look on? We had look on Flexboxes. And we also had look on nav. Oh yeah, fonts, font and font family, and NavBar. and navbar. How to create a navbar. Okay. And let's get push this. Perfect. So now you'll be able to find that up on your GitHub. Workshop. Yeah, here's the workshop. Layouts, grids, those are kind of like advanced topics. If I would have like got a little bit more time, I would have actually explained you Bootstrap and everything. But yeah, this is what the time allowed us. Even if I start with layouts and grids, that's gonna like take a whole day for me to explain that. It's kind of like more confusing. Flexboxes are easy. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop till here, and this is the link. Okay. Samajh aaya, like a little bit of CSS. I hope that you might have got a little bit a little clearer idea on CSS now. Okay, CSS again. If you know how to use a proper CSS and you know what you are actually writing, while you want that to render onto your CSS, a lot of people sometimes have is that they write something and that doesn't work. The reason is they actually don't know what they're doing in CSS. So once you actually get a very clear understanding that, oh, this is how I'm supposed to write CSS, that's when you start to wrap your head around with CSS. Yeah, thank you so much. This makes me happy. I'm not pretty sure how effective this came out to be. Like literally no idea. But yeah, I tried to give as much as I could for the whole the workshop part. It's fine, Ajinkya. It's fine. So yeah, that way. So we are just keeping it this way. And yeah, I just wanted to tell you about one more thing. That we as in Innomatics, we are, just in case if you're interested, like I'm just telling you, just in case if you're interested, we are about to start off with a new batch. And that batch is, I think it's going to start from next Monday, I think. And there are like in total, I generally like don't teach too many people, like 200 to like it was too much. And you just saw that how it's online though, it's online. So like I don't cater like too many students, like 200 like actually make some mess. So I just keep a small batch of 40 people. I think 20-25 are all done. But just in case if somebody would be interested, what I'll do, I'll share a Google form links with you, just in case if you'd be interested in joining the course. Up to you. I'll share you a Google form link. Okay. And if you'd be needing any details or anything, you can just go ahead and put that up in your Discord as well. Okay. Those I have no idea on that. Like I think the representatives will call you on that. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. I think this is the wrap up with the whole workshop from my end. You will get all the certificates through emails. You'll receive your certificates on email. So yeah, that's the case. No, I think you'll have to learn a lot of different things because we'll be working on very extensive applications. We are thinking of to make them work on LMS, a student management system, kind of like a thing. So yeah, we'll be needing somebody who could create applications like React apps or Angular apps or something like that. Okay, so you'll also will manage backends and all that. Yeah, so that way. So what I'll do, guys, I'll share the Google form with you, just in case if you'd be interested, you can fill that form. And yeah, that was it for the whole session, and that was up for the whole workshop. You have the code, you have Discord, you have the videos with you. Today's recording video will be uploaded tomorrow because it's a holiday. But though I am me, so like I'm taking the sessions, right? So yeah, today's a holiday, so most probably the video will get uploaded for tomorrow. So tomorrow you'll get the video, okay, in the same channel. And I really appreciate you people taking out time for the session. And yeah, That was it. It was lovely having you people on board. Full stack, the course you're talking about, it's gonna be for 5 months. So in 5 months, we're gonna talk about HTML, CSS. Okay, just give me a second. If I'd be having a curriculum, just in case if you're interested to go through that curriculum, you can go ahead and have a look on that. Yeah, I think I have that. So I'll be taking the batches and all that. Yeah, I'll take the batches. Okay, so I'll just quickly give you a review just in case if you're interested. Do you want to have a look on it? Like not gonna like be like onto it, but just in case if you're interested. Okay. So you'll get the certificates. So it's very extensive. We have like I have created this keeping a lot of things on mind. So it's gonna be 5 to 6 months depending upon what it's going to be, and then after that it's gonna be a 1 month internship, right? Just after the course. So of course we'll just have a look on HTML part, like easier part, span, blink, table spans, and all that, which we have done in the workshop. And then we'll be talking about the CSS, borders, box models, Bootstrap, Flexboxes, grids, and all that part. So this amount of part is easy. So this is where the actual game starts from. So we're gonna start from Es6 Fundamentals. This is gonna be the JS fundamentals. Then we're gonna have a look on DOM, how to access DOM, how to manipulate DOM. We'll have a look on events. We're gonna have a look on JavaScript classes and object-oriented programming, just a little bit. And then we'll move into JavaScript functions and ES6 arrow functions, how to create ES6 arrow functions, how to manipulate them, how to use it on DOM events, click events, hover events, double click events, and all that. There is no remaining part. The whole workshop was for HTML and CSS. I think that we have done. Okay. Then we'll have higher order array methods like for each, map, reduce. It's gonna be 2.5 to 3 hours every day. It's 2.5 to 3 hours a day. So higher order array methods for each, map, filter, reduce, all that higher order array methods. And then few JavaScript tips and tricks. That I have no idea. Kushagra, I have literally no idea on that. I think the other people, if you'd be interested, just fill the form and the people will reach back to you. You can have a discussion with them. I've cost point, I don't have any issues. I have no idea on that. Then we'll talk on Ajax, client-server architecture, responses, XML, JSON, introduction to APIs, testing APIs with Postman, asynchronous data. Yeah, I'll share it. I'll definitely will share it today itself. Inserting APIs to front end and all that. Then we'll move to React, the more complicated part, like what are components, listening to events, JSX, fundamentals, props, inputs, forms, handling forms, routing, then state management, Redux, context APIs, and all that. Oh, thank you. Then we'll look into version control, which I think a lot of people were asking, like how to use Git, how to work on Git, and all that. So yeah. No. Didn't you go through the day by day segregation? The segregation was given to you, right? That what is to be covered on day 1, day 2, and all that. Yeah. So you would have gone through it. Then the backend here is going to be based on Java. So I'll take both Java and Node.js related backend. So it's fine. So basics of Java will cover out first, then intermediates of Java and all that. Yeah. Okay. So exception handling and all that. So and databases, file handling, JDBC, problem solving. So problem solving, I'm going to take a lot of time. So this is competitive programming, data structures, and all that. Can we go through Python? That depends. That depends. Then this is the backend, like the backend on Spring and Spring Boot, because most of the companies, like high-end graded companies, they work on either Node.js or Java related backend. Yeah, it's a very extensive. That's what I'm saying. I've made this course very extensive. We also talk about system designs, load balancing, what is MVC, MVM, MVP, all that system designs part, right? Then we'll talk about the web introduction, design patterns, JSP servlets, Spring Boot framework, object ORMs, Hibernate, REST API, user authentication, OAuth, and then we'll create a website based on Spring Boot. And whatever we'll be creating, we'll create a Capstone project and we'll deploy it on AWS servers. And we'll talk about droplets, DigitalOcean droplets, and if you want, we can have it or look on Docker as well. The certificates will be given to you by on Monday because it's a holiday today, so nobody's in the office. I don't know why I'm working, but yeah, of course, e-commerce. So like it's a basic part of web designing. You'll create better applications out of it, and it's just like, and you most probably will throughout the course we have designed or we have created around like 3 to 4 Capstone projects, deployed 3 to 4 Capstone projects. So yeah, that way. Yeah, so that way. So this was the end of the workshop, guys, right? And this is the whole things that we have created out of the workshop. You have this GitHub link just in case if you'd be interested, you can go ahead and have a look on it. Form, I'll create the form and I'll share it with you people on Discord itself. So after HTML and CSS, go with JavaScript and then start with React. I'll recommend you that. So React is easier as compared to that of Angular or something. But when you understand the concept, then you can go to some other frameworks as well, maybe Angular or something. Okay. Any technology or framework to keep the created website safe. OAuth. If you have OAuth, that will work. Placement assistance, yeah, we have that. Placement assistance, of course, when you're joining the course, of course, we'll make you placed, guys. What's the point? What's the point of whole thing if you are not getting placed then? See, that depends on you, what kind of programming you're doing. See, generally, I'll recommend you Linux. Honestly, the only reason I work on Mac is the reason because this is Linux based. This is something which is called as Darwin. If you don't know about that, go ahead and have a look on it. So it's like a graded end of Linux basically. Course price, I have no idea. Fill the form, the people will reach to you. You can ask whatever you want to ask related to the FSD curriculum and prices and all that. Yeah, internship will be starting off very soon, but for that you'll be, as I just said, you'll be needing the you'll be needing the knowledge about other frameworks, like because we'll be creating a full-fledged integrated application out there. So you should be knowing how to work on React or backend or anything. If you know that, yeah, you can apply it for internship as well. So we're about to launch the internship like in a couple of days now. So most probably like in 5-10 days, it will be there on the Innomatics LinkedIn page. Okay, so yeah, you can also visit the website. The website, you'll get everything. Okay, so yeah. Linux, the reason is that whatever you do, you can do everything on command line. Even I do everything on command line. So if you want to install something, not install something, create applications, do everything. So yeah. Yeah, I will be the instructor. Yeah, I'll take the batch. Yeah. It's not about just fast and take small space. It's just like it's more friendly to developers. Very friendly to developers. Yeah. CMD, yeah, CMD may all the commands. Like for example, if you go to your CMD and if you go to any terminal for Mac or Mac or Linux based application. So if you're writing ls down here, which is basically means like long listing of or give me all the files, there you have to write dir or something like that. Okay, so yeah, get bash you can use it, but again get bash uses CMD by the end of that. But yeah, you can use get bash as well. Get bash also gives you a way to create that. So yeah, you can do that. I've told you MDN, go for MDN JavaScript. So just go to Google. It's kind of like confusing sometimes, but yeah, if you get confused, you let me know. So MDN JavaScript. This is the Mozilla Developers Network. It's the official documentation of JavaScript. So you can have a look down from here. Okay, so yeah, that's the way. That's the case. All right then, guys. So let's keep the session till here. I'll share you the Google form just in case if you'd be interested to know more about it. Yeah, and yeah, one more thing. Facebook documentations. For React, go for Facebook documentations. Now I'm gonna change the wallpaper. Okay, just like a lot of people said, I'm gonna change the wallpaper to link forward. Link forward. Link for link. Okay, the official documentation you're asking for, right? So I'll just share it out with you. Wait a second, huh? Just give me a second, guys. Bye. Bye. So React documentation, it's given to you by Facebook itself. So yeah, here's the official documentation. I've uploaded it already. You will find it up on GitHub. GitHub pe hai. You can find it up on GitHub. ठीक है, for sure. Sure. Thank you so much, guys. So that was a wrap with the workshop. I hope you would have enjoyed it. I hope you would have learned something out of it. And I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining the session. And yeah, we will be staying in touch because you're a part of Discord now. So anytime you'll get stuck anywhere, do just let me know, DM me, I'll be there for you. Okay. Sure. Thank you so much, guys. And we'll be meeting sometimes next. Okay. Bye bye, guys. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Thank you.